Hey everybody, it's Greg LeBoff, and I want to welcome you to Awaken the Protect Our Within. And listen, I hope you had a fantastic weekend. Depends when you're listening to this. For me, it is Monday morning, and we had an amazing weekend. Had a lot of great training going on this weekend. I got to work with one of my longest running tactical teams, which was Team 1, and those guys are just a phenomenal group. Well over 15 years of experience for each member on that team. Have been with me for over 15 years, and it was just an unbelievably great weekend. So I hope you had an awesome weekend. It's a Sunday, Monday morning, and I want to share something with you very powerful. And last week I had, prior to my training course this weekend, I had a lot of corporate programs. So what we call our Awaken the Protect Our Within Pro package. Our professional package is for professionals. It is for anyone that works. If you work in any business, own a business, and you have to interact with other staff, other representatives, other patients, customers, clients, it makes no difference. If you work in this world, you need to hear this program. Now, what I want to share with you today is something that it's kind of universal. It extends even beyond our corporate training programs, but this is where I got the reminder. And last week I had a few individuals come up to me during my breaks as well as after my presentation, and it was the same thing I see so many times, and I want to share this with you, and it is called solution versus story. So the big question was this: what do good people do when a society's laws and institutions fail to keep them safe from aggression and violence? How do you get through a growing number of angry, hateful, aggressive people and still remain physically, mentally, and emotionally strong and positive? That was the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name is Greg LeBoff, and welcome to Awaken the Protector Within. Okay, now, solution versus story. Now, the other thing I'd like to add in right now is that I am as guilty of this as anybody else. We all have done this. This affects all of us. The difference is this: control follows awareness. Matter of fact, one of the only things, or probably I think the number one thing that is worth pursuing in your lifetime is awareness. Because control follows awareness. And it is not until you become aware of something that you can affect a change over it, or you can enhance it. Sometimes we have to become aware of things that serve us, things that make us happy, things that empower us, things that make us healthier, things that allow us to contribute more to others. If you don't have an awareness of those things, then we're not necessarily doing them as consistently, or we're not putting as much focus or energy into those things as we could be or should be, because we remain unaware of just how much we actually get out of it. But of course, the negative is the same. If we are unaware of how certain things are not serving us, or we're not aware to the depth of how much they are not serving us, okay, our eating habits, our routines, our patterns, our behaviors, whatever it is, we all have things that aren't serving us. And until we become aware of them, it's tough to take control over them. So this is what happened. You see, during one of my really pivotal points of my training, where we really expose people and awaken them to what it is that actually is keeping them, one of the main factors that is keeping them on the X, which is that ground zero for trauma, which basically just means when you face aggression and violence in this world, conflict, remember it's a sliding scale, verbal, mental, emotional, or physical, we are set up to fail. We are on the X. There are certain things about us, certain beliefs that we have, certain behavior patterns, routines. There are certain things that we just don't know that keep us on the X, which means that all of those things that are within us, our beliefs, our conflicting beliefs, our routines, our patterns, our limited thought process, our lack of knowledge or lack of awareness, there are things that are within us, within our control, that actually synergize the trauma that anybody out there could ever do to us. So as much physical damage or mental or emotional trauma that somebody could try to cause me, it is the things that lie within me, that will synergize that and often make it 100x more damaging. It is the things that lie within me that actually pull me deeper into and hold me longer into a victim mentality or mindset. It creates the victimization. So during one of our training programs, there's a very key point where we really expose one of these core things that lies within us, one of our core beliefs, that has us set up to fail, that keeps us on the X. Now, this is what I want to share with you today. So in this, now most times I have anywhere between 3 to 5 hours. I would love 8 hours or more, but I have 3 to 5 hours to to work with individuals. Now, our whole goal is never to stand in front of somebody and just talk. Our goal is to actually give them tangible results, actionable steps, to move them off the X, to begin the process, to actually give them hard skill sets, mindset, knowledge that they can enhance and become more inoculated to the effects of aggression and violence. So in one of my parts, I'm going through and revealing these very deep core beliefs that have us set up to fail. Now, in that time, I say to people, we are covering about 20%. We're just taking one or two of these core beliefs, these paradigms, these things that have been drilled into us, into our subconscious since you were born, that you probably don't even really understand or recognize. You don't have the awareness of how negatively these false beliefs are impacting you. And I say they're false beliefs, and they are false beliefs for all of us. They just simply aren't true. But society and the media and just the way that our society works and the messaging and the beliefs that we are taught and that are passed on down to us, they create within us a false belief that sets us up. So it's going to synergize trauma. I call it a little tripwire to trauma. So as I go through this, I share with people. I say, listen, this is 15 to 20%. That's it. But they're some of the most powerful ones, but they're 15 to 20%. So I go through that. And inevitably, in every case, there's massive aha moments. People, when they hear it, it's like when there's something that's in you that you know what I mean? Like even a deep paradigm, a conflicting belief, and you have the intellectual knowledge as you've grown and have experienced the world, and you say, well, intellectually, I know that's not true. But on your subconscious, it's wired into you, and your subconscious is 30,000 times more powerful than your conscious. But so even though you know intellectually that this isn't true, you can't help but feel the truth. It directs your actions in a negative way because you have something that's called a divided mind. You see, what sets you free is to figure out the solution, and the solution is to educate yourself, to become aware. Control follows awareness, to become aware. I know that makes sense, but here's the thing. So I go through this, and people have breakthrough moments, and it moves them off that X. It starts to cut that tripwire. Now, everybody's at a different place, and different experience, and different predisposition, but inevitably, at the end of my presentations, or during one of my breaks, after this part, I will get people come up to me, and it usually goes one of two ways. The first thing they do is they express and share with me how powerful that a moment was, how much of an awakening they just had, how much I've helped them off the X. I mean, literally, there's this knowledge, and it's trust me, it's not me. I'm just delivering this knowledge. This knowledge set me free. And this knowledge was given to me and passed down to me. It was somebody that helped break my false belief, that helped break my paradigm. So I can relate completely. So I get to be that conduit. But inevitably they come up to me and say, listen, I had these experiences. Typically they say this exactly. I've had things happen to me in my life. And as right away at that point, you can see them start to tear up. I don't care if it's men. I don't care if it's women. I don't care how old. I had a guy, not that in the last 2 weeks, that was like 6'6", 280 pounds, looked exactly like a biker. I mean, just a big, looked like a major league heavy hitting biker, come up and said those exact same words to me, and you can see tears start forming in his eyes. And this is not a guy that cried, but all of a sudden said, I've never heard. Nobody has ever taught me that. And he was, had to be in his late 50s, early 60s, and said, I've never heard this. He said, it's a very tough pill to swallow. But he said, just hearing it, allowed him to begin to release a lot of the false beliefs that he had about it. You see, when you get hit with the truth, when you have something that you can feel, not just intellectually understand, but with something that you can feel and you know this to be true, and you can see the conflict, and you can see, I have been taught from a young age to believe this, even though intellectually as an adult, I know that's not true. There was a divided mind. And it's only when they hear it in a certain way, when they hear it from an outside source in a certain way, the way it is delivered. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. That's what influences people. But when it's said in the right way, in a way that it acts like a key turning a lock. And when that is unlocked, it sets you free. Now, this is really what I want to get to. This is all great, but here's the thing. I will also get people, they'll go on and say, that set me free, that changed me. Then they kind of go in to say, however, I have these other things. This has happened to me. That's happened. They'll go on and list usually 2 or 3 other pretty major things. And what I say to them is very simple. I say, listen, where you had the aha moment today, where you became aware today, and now you have control. Control follows awareness. Where we have created awareness today was because I shared with you the first 15 to 20% of this information. And what did it do for you? It turned the key and it set you free. What is remaining is another 80% or so of the rest of this information. And so everything that you said, yeah, but I still have this, that, and the next thing, guess what? If you were to hear the rest of this, the other 80% of this information, guess what would happen? It would act like a key and it would set you free. It would change. It would give you awareness. Awareness is freedom because awareness creates control. See, we don't need the problem to be solved. It's nice when it is solved. It's like when we hit the destination of problem solved, we're done. That's awesome. But progress is what we need to feel fulfilled, to be happy. We need to know that we're moving forward. That is why control, following awareness, when you give someone awareness, they instantaneously now have control. And from that point on, the solution, the freedom, the full solution, the destination, it's inevitable. It's a foregone reality because you have awareness. And through awareness, you gain control. But here's what I want to say. Solution versus story. What people will do, and this amazes me every time. This happened just last week, twice. The exact same thing I just told you happened. And I said, you've heard 20%. And they said, oh, but there's this, that, and the other thing. I said, there's another 80%. That 80% will do for you, for what you're worried about right now, it will do the same thing that the 20% I just shared with you did. And they're like, wow, wouldn't that be amazing? And I said, yes, it would. And how do I know? Because it happened to me. But guess what? Nobody asks what the other 80% is. Nobody asks what the other 80% is. Sometimes they'll say, where can I get this information? And I'll tell them. And guess what? Nobody goes after the other 80%. When I found this, when this happened to me, and I heard the first 20%, I wouldn't leave Southern California. That's where you was. I heard the first 20% in the first 45 minutes that I sat down and talked with my instructor, my mentor. And at the end of that, he's okay, well, listen, I got to go back to Virginia Beach. He was working with the SEAL teams at the time. And he's like, I guess I'll see you around. And maybe, it was, and it was like, that was the end of it. It was like ready to throw out a handshake and say goodbye. Nice to meet you. And our lives separate again. And I said to him, I said, you can't just tell me and share with me what you've done in the last 45 minutes. And then say, I'll see you later and maybe I'll run into you again at some point. I wouldn't leave. I just wouldn't leave and I wouldn't take no for an answer. And I spent the next 2 weeks with him until the day that he left, pestering him, staying with him, listening to every word that he said. And then the second that he was gone, he was back, he was going to be gone for 3 more months. I said, I will see you when you get back. You let me know when you get back and I will be here. And he did. And he didn't expect to see me, but the day he got home, or the next day he got home, I was there. And I did that. When he was home, I was there. Why? Because I wanted the other 80%. Here's the thing, though. I said, I'm just as guilty as everybody else. You see, what happens is this. Why don't people want the other 80%? Because they're stuck to the story. We've all built a story around our suffering. We've built a story around our pain. We've built a story around our limitations. We've built a story around why we can't. We built a story around, this is who I am. This is the way life works. This is what it is. We all have the limits, the ceilings, the expectations. We have all created a story that makes the box that we're in very, very real. And so although somebody comes into our world and we hear something or we experience something or we see something or we read something or whatever happens, that gives us a new awareness. And that awareness gives us a different level of control, and we make some changes in our life. Just like they get the 20% sets them free, and they couldn't be happier. They're astonished. But then they stop. And for most of us, intellectually, it doesn't make sense. We think, no, why? If you were in pain and somebody did something for you that said, hey, listen, I'm just going to give you 20% of this, 20% of this, see what it does for you. And you took it, and literally your pain got cut in half. Wouldn't you say, listen, we did the 20% as a trial and it worked. I had amazing results. Could I get the other 80%? Could I have the full prescription? Imagine a doctor saying, oh yeah, you've got strep throat. Here, you should take these 15 to 20 pills. Take 20 pills over the next 10 days. But you say, I'm going to give you 5. You'll be feeling better in the next 24 hours, 48 hours. But it'll probably come back because you only took 5. But that's all I'm going to give you. It doesn't even make sense. But yet we do this all the time. Because we're stuck to our story. Our story gives us certainty. Our story gives us significance. Imagine what would happen if all of a sudden our whole story just changed. We'd be like, well, our whole world could change. Like, well, but this is who I am. Like, I live with this chronic pain. I live with this suffering that I've accepted. Like, if all of a sudden something just came along and changed all that, who would I be? I wouldn't fit anymore. My world would change. So here's what I want to suggest. We must learn that we have to go after the awareness, because from awareness comes the control, and that gives us solutions. Solutions are a good thing. We've got to understand the problem before we go for the solution, but the point is, solutions are a great thing. Change is a great thing. In all manners, man, if you're crushing it in one area, you still want to tweak it and change it and get even more out of it. There's nothing in my life that I want to stay the same. Even the things like my family, the connection, the love I feel for my kids, I'm pretty selfish because I want that to actually grow. I'm not satisfied. It's at an amazing, phenomenal level right now. I want more. I want deeper connection. I want to experience more things with them. I want to, it's just like, I want more. I want more from my relationship and have a phenomenal relationship, blessed to have an amazing, I want more. And for a fact that if I want more in the areas that are great in my life and phenomenal in my life, then the things that I struggle with, or the things that I know are my limitations, and the stories that I know are not serving me, it's not any easier for me to change those things. But I know that I've got to work to try to find a new awareness. And when I find it, here's the thing. Most times when you find something, you are finding just the top 5 to 10 or 15%. But that's where people dabble. Go all in. Go all in. I'll just jump back last week to a week as I get ready to wrap this up. But there's people that I met last week that were suffering, that had felt better than they have felt mentally and emotionally. They had a clearer understanding. They had more awareness than they have felt in years. And yet they stopped at the 20%. It's like I couldn't convince them to take the other 80%. I said, come see me after. I'll spend the next 3 hours for free, voluntarily, and I will give you this information because I believe in it so much. Because somebody took the time to help me off the X and help end my pain and suffering, or at least change the effects of it, to bring me an awareness, to give me the control to change my life. Not to do it for me, but to give me the awareness, which then gives me the control, which then I can take the actions. But people, they don't want it. They're stuck with the story. And they rather have their story. There's more certainty and more significance in most people's story than there is in the solution. In opening up your mind to new awarenesses, which would give you new controls. So, I do it all the time and self-reflect. Like I said, I'm as guilty as everybody else. But please, our stories, we get stuck in our stories. Awareness brings control and allows you to stand on your story. It's still going to be your story. Just don't get stuck in your story. Stand on your story and use that to reach new heights. All right, everybody, listen, until next time, as always, I hope this added value. I deeply appreciate everyone that's listening to this. Please share this, rate this, comment on it. Help us spread our word and help us with our mission to help change the effects of aggression and violence in this world. And as always, please stay safe, stay ready, and just remember, getting off the X is only one step away. Want to awaken your protector within? If so, then head to awakentheprotectorwithin.ca and get your free Off the X training today.